and we're ready for our next session, which is going to be dedicated to game design and finding the core pillars of your game. And right now, we are connecting to our speakers. Hi, guys. Hi, Vadim. Hi, Eugen.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Quite good, actually. A bit hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
It is a bit hot. Like Russia is treating us with some warm weather. Vadim, is it your first time presenting something online? I know that for Eugene it's not. We did the WN talk a few weeks back, and for you?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Wow, great! Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm passing over to you. Good luck, and let's get it going.
Hey guys, it's actually a pleasure to be here. So, Vadim, can you cover the scope of this session? What we're going to talk about?
Sure thing. So today we would like to talk a little bit about core game pillars, why you may need them, and how to find them. And of course, we would discuss some examples. And after that, we would talk about how to translate your core game pillars to your team, to publisher and investor, and to your players as well. The first question is obviously, what is game pillars?
Yeah. So the basic definition of it's like pillars, the foundation of the game. But I'd say let's dig a little deeper into this. So pillar is something special about your game, but so is the USP. Like, what's the difference? You're going to ask me. The main difference is that USP is something that refer to usually to marketing, to advertising of the game, to catching the attention of the player, while the pillar is something internal, which goes deeply to a mechanics, to emotion you feel in the game, and what make you stay in the game. USP can be and should be built from the pillars, but the pillars is actual like foundation. Mm-hmm. By defining and refining those pillars, we create a better player experience. So let's start with like few basic suggestions. Go ahead, Vadim.
You are totally right. The core pillars is not a USP, and it's mostly not about mechanics, but it's something more about the experience and the game feel. So you have to ask yourself, what is the main thing that you would experience during gameplay, and what all these mechanics will do together, what kind of experience will they provide. But of course, it's like not a list of 20 things, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for like stability reasons, you may look for like more than one, obviously, but don't go for like really into this. So my suggestion is like 3 to 5, depending on your game style, on your experience, on your guts, probably, and of course on the size of your team. What can you cover? How can you make it like really good? Because the next point is sorry, wrong slide, but that's fine. The next point is your core pillars should be the best things in your game you can deliver possibly. So if you have experience in, I don't know, dramatic narrative, go for this. If you have experience in like really cool gunplay, go for this. But it should be like really the best, the top-notch things you can deliver. And
So yeah, definitely. Of course, it's sometimes hard to find the best like strengths of your team. But if you decide that something should be changed, some aspect of the games is not that important, it's okay to change your core pillars over time. It's especially essential for games as a service because, for example, your player base can focus on one aspect of the game, and over time, with years, you develop it so that it's like the most important part of the game. And of course, let's not forget that the starting experience and the late game experience may change for the player. So yeah, basically, players are not playing your game for the same reason as they stay in your game.
fair enough. So let's say, first of all, let's start next point with a little disclaimer. The game pillars is just a tool for the designers. It's not like any panacea. It's not something that will definitely save you. But it's one of the tools in your toolbox, and the broader toolbox you have, the better you're equipped for the job. So, speaking about pillars, like why do we need them? Why do we want to use like that approach?
Well, the main reason is that when you are sitting down at the table and try to find the most important things in your game, after you do that, it's easier for you to know your direction, which way your team should move towards. And well, of course, you want to put as much things into your game as possible, but well, it's better to keep it lightly and try to formulate with one or two words and make really visible what is the main goals, main rules of your game.
Fair enough. Yeah. The other thing is, uh, like, the bigger you grow, the more people you have in your team. And not everyone in the team can or actually should keep all the game in all its complexity in the head. Not
Yes,
everyone
as
should
much
be
as we like to dream about it, it's impossible.
true. So not everyone should be always stuck in a game design document. You're going to have a different people. Pillars allow you communicate the spirit of your game, create a bright image, clear and easy to remember.
Yeah, that's totally true. And after that, the next step is that when everybody knows what you are doing, it's easier to make some tough decisions, especially, for example, when you need to cut some features from the final version because you don't have enough time or you don't have enough people to develop it. So you need to have some kind of restraints and boundaries in order to focus on the main aspects of the game.
Yeah, and actually, it's good that you mentioned like boundaries, because I mean, I believe that design is actually growing from boundaries. And if you have a good team, the team is always in, like, try to invent. It's inventive, and uh, by putting those pillars as some sort of a restraints, you help them to invent in the proper direction, so it's not go chaotic. And yeah, of course, the feature cuts, sad part of any game designer. But the pillar are actually serving a good purpose here. If you have two technically same features, one of them is better serving, it should stay. So as we
Well,
cover
yeah,
like the
let's go
basics,
to
let's
some
go over
examples.
some examples.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, the market are super broad and there's a lot of games, but we picked some and we decided that we will provide you some pillars as we see them as external players and not the developers. So maybe developers defined different pillars for their game, but that is how we saw it. So don't be shy and put us in place in the comment section. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. We will answer them at the end. So, Vadim?
Yeah, that's true. It's totally about creating a message and then delivering it. So, for example, the Minecraft, one of the most popular games, at first started as a sandbox where you could build almost anything. And it was the main pillar from the beginning, but as time progresses and developers created a new mode, the adventure mode, where you could basically try to live your life and survive, the game got its another pillar, like the adventure simulator, and all them together are connected via visuals, the blocky visuals that everybody knows and, well, most of people love. It complements the main aspect of the game. It's reminiscent of children's building kits where you could play and try to build different stuff. So it's so essential for the game. It's almost impossible to visualize it in any other way.
Sounds great. So for my example, I picked up the new XCOM series and I tried to identify the pillars. And from my perspective, it goes like this. So first of all, it's diversity. First, in player classes, where you need to pick them and make your team from the classes you want. So you have a diverse gameplay in the game, and later in the Chimera squad, they added a personality to those classes, and those personality like really shows diversity from even like different dialogues, depending on which characters you brought on the mission. Second is the advantages, as you always seek for some edge. Will it be the new gun you invented, or new tech, or new armor, or just, I don't know, height advantage? But you will always seek for something that gives you edge. And it leads us to the third column of the game, which is overcoming. You are always going against the odds. Enemies are plenty and you are a few. And it will help you to like overcome circumstances, and that will give you like a deep satisfaction.
I really like this example of the pillar because it applies both to mechanics of the game and the story, where you start as an underdog and you are, well, on the brink of destruction. So you need to survive and crawl your way to victory.
Yeah. And the last, but probably not least, is the good luck pillar.
Is it good luck or bad luck?
That's a good question, but there's a lot of chances in XCOM in battles where you have low chance, but you still hit the target, or when you get a critical hit, like when you need it, that creates like a really, really big emotional spike. And it's sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes you have like 90% chance of hit and you miss it, but that's not the moment you remember from the game. At least most of us. Okay, let's go to the next example. I mean, it's nice to talk about like big and like paid games, but by statistics, most of us are working on some sort of game as a service titles.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next example, I picked a proper game as a service title. So it's a HOMESCAPES. And the pillars in the HOMESCAPES is like, first of all, and probably the most important one, is accessibility. Like literally anyone from the 5-year-old to your 90-year-old grandma should be able to play this game. It has like a really, really simple and plain UX, but still have some challenges for different types of players. Second is a visual appeal. Really nice colors, really smooth forms, and a very, very like plain and neutral mascot, which is funny but not in any way harmful.
Yeah, and it connects with accessibility as well.
Yeah. Third pillar is no consequences for mistakes. Like, yes, you can fail the level, but you can always replay it. The only thing you will lose is like one life. And in the level during your play, you can literally cannot make a move without a result. So you have literally zero place for mistakes there. And the fourth pillar is a very, very deeply wired in human brain, the need to create order from chaos. And while you're renovating this house, you are literally creating this order, and it appeals to a very, very ancient and deep set of wires in our brain. So those are our examples. But how do we make them? How do we found them? How did we found them? Let's go on the section like how to identify your pillars.
Yeah,
Vadim, you
well,
like to start?
the main idea is that you need some kind of list of questions in order to ask yourself and share the answers with your colleagues and with your team and discuss it in order to find the main direction for your game. Well, these questions are pretty basic, but you need to remember why do you need to ask yourself. So what drives you most? Why would you play this game? If you answer to this question, you will be able to find the main game driver. Why would people try to come back to the game and play it? And with that, you could create a more consistent experience.
Yeah. So the other one is what challenges will you face in the game? What will help you to tackle them? Like, is it several approaches or just one? Will the player get any help, or you can rely only on himself, on yourself? Answering those questions will give you like a vision, like maybe for example, will it be a one difficulty game or several different difficulties? This will give you a vision of the game difficulty and probably a possible loopholes.
The next question is what will you get as a sense of accomplishment? How the game will award you? Will there be an ending of the mission and some kind of cutscene or event? Will you be glad that you solved the puzzle? Will you try to complete your collection and find everything that is there in the game? Answering those questions will give you understanding what will feel good in your game, and not only in mechanics but in other aspects as well.
So, what behaviors will you encourage? Is your game like competitive or cooperative? Is it violent or not? Do you force a player to behave in a certain way, or you leave him to make his own path? Answering those questions will help you to like refine and fine tune your gameplay and make sure that the game isn't creating a dissonance in the player's brain.
The last pack of questions is how players will praise your game. What will they like? What would they hate? What types of moments would they share with each other? What stories will they be able to tell their friends? With answering to these questions, you will be able to establish a communication and try to establish your unique selling points for the game that will help your marketing and overall creating better player experience.
Yeah. So ideally, the answers, while you're asking those questions, the answers should shrink to like one word, maybe two words definition, which will hold the essence of this answers and this particular aspects of the game.
And after you discuss them like with yourself, always share them with other people in the team. It's the main reason to create and use this idea, use this work frame. You need to share and speak with others, and be sure to discuss each pillar and explain it as many times as you need. Take a couple of extra meetings in order to share them with everybody.
Yeah, so how to message them properly. I mean, not everyone will be in your game process from the start. Not everyone will be participating in creating those pillars. So to the rest of the team, or to your inventor, to your publisher, we will suggest the different approaches, how to communicate those pillars. So with your team, it's the best thing to use a dialogue. Like literally ask your teams the same questions you were answering. Discuss answers. Maybe they will come to the same conclusion, but sometimes maybe they will come to a different one. And it is possible that as a team effort, you will together find a better pillar name or a better solution than you found by yourself. So remember, game design, it is always a team play.
And after you,
of course, team findings are assembles people around the ideas.
Yeah, and after you established your basic rules, you can use a more wider approach, use some kind of presentations, music, graphics, literature, movies, and insert some references in order for people to be able to easier understand what you are talking about. So if you find some pillar that you think your game needs, you can always search the market for some game that have the same approach in, well, maybe even different type of game, but still the same approach. And yeah, take your time, make several attempts, and make sure that you pick pillars that are compatible and each member of your team agrees that this is the way you should go.
Yep. So let's go to some ending takeaways. For those of you who just joined, we're gonna make like an executive recap. So first of all, believe in your pillars. Not believe in pillars per se, just a tool, so you can use it or don't use it. It's your choice. But if you pick your pillars, make them believable, make them like visual, and make them really make them like you mean them. So the other thing is like stay focused. If you have a pillar, don't lose it from your mind. I mean, you can make a mood board and print it out on the wall, or just make like 4 big words and put it on the wall, or make a wallpaper for your employees' computers. So it should always be in the center of your focus. Like, does it serve the pillar or not? And
of course, in the end, is like just a tool. Just as Eugen said, you should always combine different methods, experiment, and find something that suits you or your team in the best way. So pillars is just a way to organize your thoughts and try to build your working process around them. So better communication will be great aid down the long way of development. And don't fear of trying something new and different. You don't have to create a game from the ground up using this technique. You can try to find your pillars of already existing or already developing the game that's already in development.
Yep. So this will conclude our talk about the game pillars, and now I believe we still have some time to answer some questions if we have any. Yegor?
Yep. Thank you a lot, guys. This was a great talk, and I think those game designers or people who are willing to become game designers or like developing their projects, they will find it very useful. And we do have a few questions in the chat,
Cool.
so let's get to them.
That's a new.
Yeah. So the first one is coming from Wina Lee, and she is asking a question. Probably it's a little bit from like the project management side, but I believe you still can answer it, and you have an experience in it. So
well, we will try our best at least.
Yeah. So the question is, like, do you have someone in your team who doesn't understand how the pillars work, and maybe those people would want to go into different direction, and that creates a conflict? How could you solve this kind of conflict?
Well, that's actually a great question. And I mean, of course, it depends on the stage of the game. Because like it's one thing when you are creating a basic prototype or a concept of the game, and it's completely other situation when the game is like already 5 years in operation. So it depends, but basically my advice is communicate. Like explain your pillars to the team as long as through as many attempts as it takes, plus a couple extra. And sometimes your team can actually come up with something better, and be sure you don't like, again, the pillars, it's not like an Old Testament. It can be changed over time, over game development progress, over some new founding. And sometimes your team can be the better driver than you by yourself. So if some people don't understand the pillars, then explain the concept of the pillar by itself, and then explain in each pillar. But even after that, if they don't agree, listen to them, because maybe you will find something better, or otherwise you will convince them. Of course, sometimes there could be a like absolute conflict, and maybe it would be time to part ways. Maybe not. Maybe you will find another prototype in your studio, and you will be creating 2 games instead of 1. Who knows? But communication is the key.
Yeah, and I would like to add that the later in the game development cycle you introduce the pillars, the harder for you it will be to translate it to everyone. So, for example, if your game is already in production, it would be a little bit harder. And if your game is already released and it's a game as a service, it would be very hard for you. You will basically need to speak with each person and ask their opinion on the game direction, and try to combine together all the ideas that everybody have.
Yeah, sounds great. So communication is a key, like as almost always in our lives. Thank you, guys. So the next one is coming from Roman Kolesnik, and he asks us, so like, what are the key differences between game pillars and unique selling points?
Well, the main difference is that unique selling points is for mostly marketing of the game, and you try to sell to a person the game that he or she never heard about. And the game pillars is all about why would a person, after he or she was introduced to the game, will come back to the game and play it. So, for example, if some of the pillars will be interesting, the player will come back to the game. But, well, the unique selling points might not just provide it.
And another thing is core pillars help you create something which not only help your marketing team to sell your game, but it creates something that players will share with each other. Like, would it be funny stories? Would it be dramatic stories? I mean, we all faced this when the players are creating actually like an extra layer of the gameplay or extra layer of the game stories around the main gameplay. And this is what pillars serves for. They help you to create this environment which player will be happy to share with their friends.
Yeah, thanks. And I also believe that we have asked right now also the question from Sasha Protasenia, who asks us like almost the same thing related to game pillars and unique selling points. So thank you very much, guys. This was a very good discussion. And please join us on wnhub.io in speakers chat section, where the audience can still ask some questions. So if you have a few minutes after the talk, please log into the system. It's going to be great to see you there.
Sure, we'll be
Sure.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks once
thank
again.
you.
Thank you for having us, and you guys have a great day.